Before I even get into this video, I just have to thank you for all the support that I received on my last video about my shred. Honestly, it just melts my heart. It was very hard for me to share such a personal kind of video diary, but if it helps at least one person, then I'm very happy. And it seems like it might have helped like more than one person, considering the amount of direct messages I received about it on Instagram. So thank you. This video is going to be a follow-up to that. It is all about the diet after the diet. So it's known as reverse dieting. What do you do after a fat loss phase to make sure that you can actually sustain the fat loss that you worked so hard for without gaining it back and, you know, falling off track with your health and fitness goals? Many times people will lose weight and then they'll gain it back or even more back after they finish whatever kind of diet they were doing. And the reason for this is many people try and do things that are unsustainable for them. So they might try like a certain keto diet, a paleo diet, they cut out certain foods that they love, or they go extremely clean and cut out things like bread or ice creams, and they just take an extreme approach to their fat loss, which is only maintainable for a short amount of time. So they might do it for 6 to 8 or maybe even 12 weeks, but then after that, they're desperate to go back to what they were doing before. And of course, if you've done something so extreme for a certain period of time and then you go back to what you were doing before, you're going to gain the weight back, and sometimes you're going to gain the weight back and more because your body's adapted to like the lower calories that you're on, but also you're craving all these different foods during the 6 to 8 to 12 weeks, then you end up going crazy on them the moment you kind of allow them back into your lifestyle. So we really want to avoid that. I've totally done it before, so I'm speaking from experience. As a lot of you, if you've been following me for a long time, you'll know after my first competition, I definitely had like a clean diet for 4 months, and then I just went crazy on everything and anything I could get my hands on, and I ended up gaining back the weight and more after. So I don't want that to happen to you. I don't want that to happen to me again. And so I thought I would kind of talk about what's necessary after a fat loss phase in order for you to be able to eat more food without gaining crazy amounts of fat back. Simply put, a reverse diet is when you slowly increase your calories and decrease any cardio that you are doing. I didn't need to add in any extra cardio for my shred that I recently did. My goal was to not have to do any HIIT during it. I wanted to keep it as low stress as possible to make sure I kept my cycle. So I pretty much just aimed for 10 to 12,000 steps a day, and that was kind of all that I was doing. But to be honest, like year round, I pretty much hit around 10,000 steps a day anyway, just for overall health. If I'm in a serious building phase, then I might take my steps down to like 6 to 8,000, but I honestly just like moving my body. It feels good to move it. So when it comes to decreasing cardio now, I don't have to worry about that because I'm not doing any like HIIT or crazy amounts of cardio on top of what I usually do. For someone that was doing a competition prep, like when I prep, I add in HIIT towards the last little bit of my shred. And so then what you would do after it is you would slowly take that back. So if you were doing 2 HIIT sessions, you'll take it back down to a 1 HIIT session. If you're doing 14,000 steps a day, you might take them down to 12,000 steps a day. So we're slowly tapering back that cardio and increasing calories. So the main thing for me isn't to do with cardio, it's to do with increasing my calories. Now, because I didn't have to get as lean as I did for a competition, my body hasn't really had to struggle as much. So usually in the last like 6 to 8 weeks of a competition prep, it's a really big grind for me mentally and physically. I start thinking a lot more about food. I get more hungry. My body adapts to like lower calories. But this time I kind of stopped at about 1,500 calories. So now I've just got to increase my calories from there. So my average pretty much across January went like 1,700, 1,600, 1,500, and I was only on 1,500 for like a week or two. So in terms of increasing my calories, I've actually increased them already up to 1,850. My calories increased from about 1,500 to about 1,650 to 1,700, and now to 1,800 to 1,850. Everyone is going to be different when it comes to reverse dieting, and it has to be personalized to you because it really depends on a lot of different factors, like how is your energy levels, your sleep, your hunger, your overall health. How long have you been in a dieting phase for? There's a lot of different things which come into play. I work one-on-one with women all around the world on the Angeli Fit Squad. Usually we'll go through like a shredding phase, and now I have a lot of women that are working on reverse dieting. It is different based on the individual, so please don't compare your journey to mine or your journey to anyone else's, because again, we are all unique and we need a unique approach. So for my first diet, I am up to 1800 to 1850 calories. In the space of about 3 weeks, my weight has stayed within about a kilo fluctuation range. So a lot of people stress out when they reverse diet because they see the scales jump up by a pound or 2. And it's totally normal. If you think of it like you're eating more food, so there's literally more food in your body, that alone is going to increase the scales a little bit. So not only have you got more food in you, but an increase in carbs and an increase in food and sodium and things like that is also going to cause you to store more water in your body. So you will find that the scales may or may not come up a little bit, and that is a-okay. If you're finding that the scales are scaring you from increasing your calories, I suggest that you stay off the scales. I personally am making sure that I'm not weighing in day to day. I'm really trying to stay away from the scales. I'm just being as consistent as I can with nutrition and avoiding any kind of a negative relationship with food. I want to get my calories up as soon as possible. I want to maintain the shape that I've worked really hard for over the past few months, and I'm not going to let the scales or kind of what I think in my head distract me from the goal, and that is to be able to maintain shape whilst getting stronger in the gym, whilst eating more, having more energy, sleeping better, feeling better, without worrying about a number on a scale. And I understand what it's like to let that scale kind of dictate how you feel, which is why I think many people need to just put the scales away. So I've increased my calories by a bit. I feel like I pretty much look the same each morning when I wake up. Of course, I don't look the same at night when I'm going to bed because I'm eating more food, so I feel more full, and that is totally fine with me. So of course, I have discussed the topic of, could I get leaner? Yes, I could get leaner. Do I want to? No. Honestly, I want to continue reverse dieting. I want to sit at around maintenance or a tiny, tiny surplus where I can build some really good muscle, get stronger in the gym, and then I might have a mini shred later on this year. But primarily, I want to spend most of this year actually out of a deficit so that I can build muscle, create some shape, and then hopefully get on stage in the future. But this year I'm definitely not competing. I can't travel to Australia, and I don't want to risk going through another prep like I did last year to not be able to get overseas and compete. Next up, I have a few questions that came through my Instagram. By a few, I mean I had pages of questions come through when I asked you to send me through questions on reverse dieting. It seems like this is kind of a mythical concept that no one quite understands, and everyone wants to know, how can I eat more food whilst either losing fat or whilst maintaining the fat loss that I've achieved? And it is a slow and steady process, but I'm here to help in any way that I can. I want to give you as much knowledge as I can. If you look at my Fit with Angeli Instagram, you'll see a lot of the women that I've been working with to achieve their goals, whether it's fat loss, whether it's building muscle, whether it's reverse dieting. And it is a slow process, but it is so worth it. I think that too many people are used to forever dieting and staying in a deficit that they're so scared to increase their calories. But I mean, for a lot of you that aren't getting the results that you want right now, and you've been eating in a caloric deficit for a long time, what have you got to lose? You may as well work one-on-one with me to slowly increase your calories, and if anything, at least stay the same weight while being able to eat more food. That would just be a dream. I would far rather eat more food and maintain my weight than continuously try and stay in a deficit, feel absolutely miserable, tired, and hungry, and not even get the results that I want. It pays to actually invest in the long run and think about where you want to be a year from now. Do you still want to be struggling dieting, or do you actually want to be able to have, good training sessions because you're eating enough? Do you want to feel stronger, feel fitter, look more toned, and just, have an actual healthy lifestyle? It really depends on the individual, but I know what I would prefer. So to answer some of the questions, I'm going to quick fire through as many as I can. Hannah from the squad said, what are the biggest pitfalls of reverse dieting? I think the biggest thing about reverse dieting is the mental struggle. especially if you're coming from a very lean place. So for me, competing, or anyone else that's coming out of a big fat loss phase, it's very hard to get your head around not seeing yourself as lean as you were in your shredding phase. And it's totally normal to gain a little bit of fat. You can't expect to increase your calories by a lot and not gain any kind of fat. So I think a lot of people feel as if they've seen photos on Instagram of some people, the kind of odd ones out, that, or I guess the exceptions, that have been able to actually reverse diet and get leaner. And there are certain situations in which someone would reverse diet and get leaner, such as someone that had been kind of trying fad diets for a very long time, or someone that had been on very low calories and then they reverse diet and they're able to get stronger, build more muscle, and actually look leaner. So the first thing I would say about reverse dieting is it's such a mental struggle. It's also, I find, a lot harder than a shred. When you're shredding down, you're super motivated to, lose weight, lose fat, see your body changing. But reverse dieting is a much slower process than shredding, to an extent in which you kind of don't really see the benefits of it. The main benefits are those that you feel, in terms of you're getting stronger, you have more energy, you get to eat more food. So I suggest when reverse dieting to really focus on the non-scale victories, such as, getting stronger, having more energy, better sleep, being able to eat more food, instead of looking in the mirror every time you walk past it expecting to see abs. When you begin to reverse diet, how many calories should you increase per day or per week? So usually it is done on a weekly basis, and like I said earlier, everyone is different. So if you've been in a very long dieting phase, a lot, like such as a comp prep, if you've been dieting for like 4 to 5 months consistently, a lot of people say that the reverse diet should be the same amount of time as the shred. So one of my best reverse diets I've done is in 2017. After I gained the weight after my competition, I did a 10-week shred, I lost 5 kilos, and then I did a 13-week reverse. So my calories went from 1,500 to 2,500, and it took me 13 weeks. It took me 10 weeks to shred and 13 weeks to reverse. So I actually took a very conservative approach to my reverse, and it was amazing. It was the best thing I could have done, and I then went on to compete after that, in which I placed second. So it was a great phase for me to go through fat loss, reverse dieting, building muscle, and then another shred for the competition. It honestly is a process, and everyone is different. Some people believe that you should go straight to your new calculated maintenance after a shredding phase. So for example, if you ended on 1,500 calories, you might go straight up to 1,900 calories. If you're severely struggling with your hunger, binge eating, or any kind of situations with food and your body just not handling a deficit very well, it pays to get your calories up as fast as possible. But if you're like me, where I am right now, and I'm like happy with where I am, I don't have any crazy hunger signals, I'm happy just to slowly increase. So at 1850, I'm feeling really good. I wouldn't mind if I drop a little bit more fat, because I am still in a deficit. Like, you don't go straight from being in a shred to increasing your calories and not being in a deficit anymore. Like, you're slowly increasing your calories, it's just that the deficit is getting smaller. So it's not like you're gonna gain fat straight away or anything like that. Your deficit just goes from being a bigger deficit to a slightly smaller one until you hit around your maintenance phase. A lot of people have asked me how often and how many calories you should increase. So again, it varies based on the individual. It might be 100 calories a week, it might be 50 calories a week, it might be more if you're in a severe deficit. It might be like 200 calories a week, and once you hit around your maintenance, you might slowly increase just by like 5 or 10 grams of carbs. But again, it depends on what your goals are and how you feel within your own skin. Like, are you okay with gaining a little bit more fat? Do you want to take a more conservative approach and focus on body recomposition, which would be where you increase your calories, you find around your new maintenance, and then you sit there focused on a high protein intake, getting stronger in the gym, and then just recomping, which would be the situation of building muscle and losing fat simultaneously, which is not necessarily easy, but it is possible. I had 3 awesome questions from the same person. How do you know when to stop increasing calories? So this depends again on the individual. Do you want to focus on body recomposition, where you sit around maintenance and you focus on building muscle and losing fat with a high protein intake? Or do you want to go into surplus because you really just want to build as much muscle as possible? So for me personally, I am planning to sit at maintenance for a little bit, and then I'm going to push a little bit higher to see how high I can get my calories whilst maintaining weight. I'm super excited for that. The other follow-up question from that is, when your calories are up, should you train harder to avoid gaining weight? Well, actually, when you're reverse dieting, we want to decrease our activity and increase our calories. We don't want to be increasing our calories and then increasing our work, because it's kind of like not really helping. The point is of reverse dieting is to take back our exercise and be able to maintain weight or maintain our shape with more calories and less kind of exertion. So what this means is I'm still going to stick to my 5 to 6 workouts a week. That's what I personally prefer. But if you were doing 4 weight sessions a week, you're not going to try and increase them if you find it really hard to do that, like if you have a really busy lifestyle. However, if you had more energy and you wanted to increase your workouts from 4 workouts to 5 or 6, you definitely could. But you just have to adjust your training split to suit your goals. So you wouldn't go and increase your HIIT or your cardio if your goal is to build muscle. You have to really think about this. This is why I recommend getting a coach to work one-on-one with you. We don't want to go and just add in a whole lot more exercise. We need to make sure that we are progressively training in order to achieve our goals. Remember, rest and recovery is so important for muscle repair and overall health. So we don't want to be overtraining. We want to make sure that our training is structured in alignment with our goals. And the follow-up question to these 2 from the same person is, after reverse dieting, should you go down again after a certain amount of time? If so, how much time? In all honesty, again, it depends on your goals. In 2017, I ended up doing my 10-week shred, my 13-week reverse, and then I went into a comp prep. That's because that's what my goal was. But ideally, what you want to do is make sure that you sit at maintenance or a surplus for anywhere upwards of 3 months. I personally spent a significant amount of last year at a surplus before deciding to shred. And this year, honestly, I pretty much want to spend the whole year building muscle. That is the best way for you to actually be able to make substantial changes. I never understand how women go from competition to competition from competition, never giving themselves time to actually grow and take a break mentally and physically from dieting. That's just not the kind of life I want to live, because I don't think life is made to be lived in a deficit all the time. So really think about what your goals are. If you want to have a mini cut throughout for whatever reason, then by all means you could do it. Like you could do 3 months of sitting at maintenance or a surplus, and then you might decide to do like a 2-week or a 4-week or a 6-week shred and then go back at it again. But I personally am aiming to just maintain a great shape year round and focus on building muscle for pretty much all of this year. And if I do need to do a mini cut throughout there, then I will. But you know what? I'll keep you updated on my journey here on the YouTube. How do macros change in a reverse diet? This is a great question. So I personally like to keep my protein intake the same year round, but it varies. If I go to a coach for a competition prep, everyone has different ideas. So some coaches will have me drop my protein, some will have me go higher protein, some will have my protein change whether I'm building muscle, reversing, or shredding. But when I'm doing my own coaching, honestly, I keep my protein consistent across the year. So does Ross, my fiance. We find this is a great way to do it. I also really want to focus on having adequate amount of protein to maintain my muscle, and also focus on the body recomposition goals I mentioned earlier. Jeff Nippard, if you haven't seen him on YouTube, he has a lot of good information on reverse dieting, building muscle, and macronutrients. So I'll stick to keeping my protein at the same across the year, but it's my fats and my carbs that are going to adjust. So proteins, fats, and carbs are macronutrients which make up our total amount of calories that we consume in a day. Protein is vital for maintaining muscle as well as recovery. Carbs are there to fuel us through our workouts, and fats are there to help with our hormones. So they're very important. We don't want to cut our carbs too low, but we also don't need our fats to be insanely high. So once I've hit the amount of fats that I want to hit and I've got my protein set, then the main increase is going to be coming from carbs. I have worked with some women on the squad for over 2 years, and there are a couple of them that are extreme outliers that I have eating anywhere upwards of 350 grams of carbs. One of them is currently eating almost 400 grams of carbs a day. Her consistency has been phenomenal. She hits her sleep, she hits her steps, she hits her water intake. She's also very tall. She came from an eating disordered background, and we were able to get calories up, build more muscle, a great amount of muscle, and get those calories up. Is everyone going to be able to get to that level? No. I don't think that I will be able to get to the level of eating 400 grams of carbs a day without gaining quite a bit of fat. So I'm not going to shoot for that. A lot of people have been asking me like, oh, how many calories do I expect my body to get to? You have to take into account that my body has been through a lot of dieting phases. So in 2017, yes, I was able to get my calories up to 2,500 to 2,700. Will my body be able to handle that again this time round after competing, 4 times? I don't know. It really is an experiment for myself. And the main thing that is most important when reverse dieting is extreme consistency. You really can't be having high and low days here and there willy-nilly. You have to stick to a consistent increase and a consistent amount of calories. So I'm not in a rush to get my calories up. I will be doing this slow and steady, and I'll make sure that I take photos along the way. I'll record my weights, my progress photos, and any other kind of measurements I can, and hopefully I'll be able to do another video diary on reverse dieting to share that with you. Okay, last question on reverse dieting. How do you know you're ready to reverse diet? This is an awesome question. So again, it really depends on the individual. If you've been dieting for a long time and you're struggling to stick to your nutrition, you're finding your adherence is getting very minimal, and you're thinking about food nonstop, you're hungry, you're tired, you're not losing any more fat, and you're getting to the point where you're like, you know what, I just want to quit on this, that is a sign that you should look at reverse dieting and getting out of a deficit as soon as possible. Another reason why someone might need to reverse diet is, I mentioned it kind of a little bit earlier, if you have been trying a lot of fad diets, or you've been on very low calories for a long period of time and you've been really consistent with that, but nothing's changing, like you're absolutely struggling to stick to it, you're sticking to it, and then you're not getting the results that you want, that's an indication that you need to increase your calories and just focus on building more muscle and focusing on the non-scale victories of your health and fitness journey. Another reason why someone might want to reverse diet is if they want to swap from the fat loss phase to building muscle. They want to switch from the fat loss phase to building muscle. You don't have to stay in a deficit forever. You don't have to always want to lose fat. It's a-okay to want to, sit at maintenance and focus on getting stronger in the gym and enjoying the journey. I think fat loss is always kind of promoted online, and people praise people that are doing a fat loss phase, and whenever I post a fat loss photo, it's always going to go better than a weight gain photo of me eating more, but maybe I've gained a few pounds or a few kilos. People just seem to idolize fat loss, and what I think should be idolized is living a happy and healthy lifestyle. If someone goes from not getting the results they want, from being hungry all the time, from being super lean, addicted to food, addicted to the scales, and not having a healthy relationship with food or themselves, to eating more food, getting stronger in the gym, sleeping better, having a better relationship with food, and feeling more confident in their own skin and a few pounds heavier, like, girl, yes, you get it. Like, that to me is something that should be praised. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel so confident, so sexy, so good right now, and I would probably be honestly 15 pounds heavier than my stage weight 2019 in October. Please do not let the scales dictate how you feel about yourself. There is honestly a point in which everyone will come to at some point on their fitness journey once they've given it a good shot, where they're like, you know what, losing 5 pounds extra isn't going to make me any happier. I'd rather actually just eat more, maintain where I am right now, and enjoy my life. And that is the point in which I am. I am so happy with where I am. Could I lose more weight? Yeah, I could. Do I want to? No. So you have to really reflect on where you are on your journey right now. Where do you want to be in 3 months, 6 months, a year from now? And then get a plan in place in order to achieve it. If you are really struggling with knowing what you should be doing, whether it's shredding fat, reverse dieting, building muscle, I'm only a message away. Once you sign up at julieMac.com, I'll send you an email about your goals and we'll get started working on achieving them, whatever they are. I am here to help you make the most of working with me. I would absolutely love to hear from you. If you have any questions at all, drop them in the comments below. I am here to help. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.